Welcome to Showcase for iteration number 25th. In this iteration, we have covered 17 points, and apart from those 17 points, there are various highlights which includes discussions, bug fixes, and some spikes. So this is a brief description of highlights from iteration number 25th. So first of all, being Ron here, we sort out the whole emergency requisition flow and detailed out how we'll be handling the calculation for emergency events. And a few stories have been started in development. Second is the CommTrack front, where we develop the program product API, which basically circulates information related to program catalog to CommTrack. Next feature is related to order export and shipment import. So this was a feature which mostly we covered in this iteration. So we finished off order exportment and shipment import feature. Apart from that, we were doing validation reports just to make sure that the data setup is consistent in the application. So we have finished a consistency check feature with all 7 validation reports in place. There were some feedbacks which we received from JSI and other users. So first of them was a numeric field alignment. So all the fields were aligned to right throughout the application. There were some enhancements made on the print format of RNR. Now we have introduced a type as emergency or the emergency requisition, which we are supporting from this current iteration. Related to VRMS front, we did a spike based on detecting network connections. So when a user is syncing data from its local server to the OpenLMIS server, if there is some network error or the server connection is lost, so we did a spike how we can manage those errors. We also received the 2 JSI feedback sheets. So we discussed internally with Ron and have prioritized which need to be fixed, and those fixes are in progress. In VRMS, we also manage how the reporting status will be handled. So we are handling reporting status at form level, at facility level, and distribution level, so that user can know when to sync the data. Another feature is related to manual shipment update. So for the orders which are not being routed to the ERP system, we will be designing one launch screen where user can manually update the shipment details for orders which are present in OpenLMIS system. We also had a thorough discussion on how will we handle AMCs, normalized consumption, and calculated order quantities for the requisitions which are submitted by CommTrack's common health workers or community health workers. And the discussion is still going on, and some stories are in development in CommTrack front. There was also a discussion based on VRMS sync approach, like whether the sync will be based on per facility or per distribution. So the discussion is going on with Ron. There was also feedback like whether when a user is working on some page and his session is expired. So initially we were facing the problem of loss of data. Now we have fixed that feedback. Now if a user is working on a page and if session is expired, we still retain that data on the page. Apart from these highlights, we have fixed a lot of UI and functional defects looking into the deployment plan soon. So this is a brief list of around 15 to 17 UI bugs and functional bugs that we have sorted out and fixed as part of this iteration. So this was from highlights point of view. Now I start with demoing stories. Login as UT. This one I have to, yeah. Yeah. So first story is basically related to processing of shipment file. So in the last iteration, we have basically shown this feature in the DAP machine, and as part of this iteration, we have covered the testing and have wrapped up the feature. So I log in as LMU in charge, who has the right to view orders and manage them. Yeah. So as this feature and handling of scenarios has already been showcased in previous iterations, so I'll just go through how we are managing this in the order screen. So as you can see, the first row for which the order is tagged, which means the shipment file has been successfully processed for this order, and the status has been changed to packed. For second order, you see a tooltip here which says shipment file error. So there might be multiple scenarios where we receive errors in shipment file, like if a product code is invalid, if order ID is invalid, or if we receive shipment details for an order which is already packed. So in these scenarios, we are flagging this order with this tooltip which shows shipment file error. Apart from released and packed status, we are also handling various other issues like transfer failed in case order is not routed to the ERP system. We are also handling these cases as part of shipment processing. Most of the error scenarios have been showcased in previous iteration. Moving further to the feedback that we have fixed, retaining the data as session timed out. So this is the RNR form, and I have filled some data, and I have been logging before 30-40 minutes. So I assume that session has been timed out. Now if I click on save, you can see here I have entered some data. If I click on save, it will take me to the login screen. As you can see, the data is still retained there. So initially, basically, we were losing all the data which user has entered on RNR form. Now we are retaining that data. And this feedback has been implemented throughout the application in all the pages, like whether user is creating a particular facility and session is timed out. So we are retaining the data, whatever we have entered. Moving further, next story is related to CommTrack. So in CommTrack, basically, we have developed the program product API. So as part of this API, once CommTrack query a particular program code, the OpenLMIS will send list of all active products which are mapped to that program in OpenLMIS. Yeah. So I'm using the browser head to get that details. So it asks me for authentication. So basically, all the APIs in OpenLMIS are supported with some authentication. So here the username is CommTrack. And the password is a auth token. So as you can see on the URL, here we have basically two fields. First one is program code and second one is facility type code. In this API, facility type code is an optional field and program code is a mandatory field. Here you can see a list of one or two products, which means this product belongs to program essential medicine and is also supported by type warehouse. User can also remove this facility type option and get details on just program level. And program is a mandatory field. If I remove program code, so it will give me an error saying program code is not present. So using this API, CommTrack can dispatch a list of all active products for a particular program to support the replenishment process for CHWs. Next story is related to emergency requisition. Just to give the brief functional overview what emergency requisition is. So currently we are supporting only one regular RNR per period, but there might be a case of some epidemics or emergency where a facility might need replenishment for certain products. So using this feature, a store in charge or a facility head can create a requisition in emergency and can ask for replenishment of certain products. So I'll log in as a store in charge. From rights point of view, we have basically merged this rights with normal requisition flow. So a user with create or authorized rights will be eligible to initiate a regular and emergency requisition both. So in this iteration, we basically have sorted out the details for how the emergency requisition flow will be handled, and we have basically generated a launch screen for emergency requisition. So if I select a particular program here, I can see that by default the type is selected as regular, and I'm seeing the period as was existing. Here now I have the option to select a type as emergency. As the type emergency is selected, so emergency RNR will always apply to current period. It won't be applied to any past or future period. It will always be defaulted to the current period. So as current date is 26th of September, so it's tagged to September period. As part of this iteration, we just have developed the launch screen. And some other points related to emergency rights are any number of emergency requisitions can be initiated for a particular facility program in one period. And this emergency requisition initiation is independent of status of regular requisitions. Yeah. In future, we'll be implementing validation saying that only one initiate emergency requisition can exist at a time. And if already one initiated emergency requisition is there, the user can just edit it to get his replenishment quantities in case of emergency. Next one is related to some minor enhancements in print format of RNR. So I select type as regular. I click on print. Yeah. So first enhancement is basically now we have introduced the type as requisition type. So in this case, as I've initiated a regular requisition, so here you can say type as regular. In case of emergency, the type will be emergency. Apart from that, other enhancements are it was a feedback, and initially we were not populating last name or username in print format. Now, as you can see in submitted by field, we have Fatima Do, who is the user who has submitted this RNR. Similarly, once you authorize the RNR, the first name and last name of the user who has authorized will be populated here. So this was a small enhancement in the print format of RNR. Next, I go through a feedback which says alignment of all numeric fields throughout the application. So initially, all the fields in OpenLMIS applications were left aligned. Now, as you can see in RNR form itself, this beginning balance, received quantity, consumed quantity, all numeric fields are now right aligned. I can show you one more screen to just see this right alignment. So I select a delivery zone, a program, and if I go to see the view load amount, so here is the data. So as you can see, all these are numeric fields and all are now right aligned. So this we have done for the application. Next story is related to VRMS stream. So in previous iterations, we showcased the development of various forms. So till now we have developed the 3 or 4 forms, and we have started working on how will users be syncing this data to OpenLMIS server. Apart from that, in order to know when a user can sync data, we are managing statuses at different levels. So I go to manage distribution, and I have to initiate one requisition to see reporting statuses. So this is the initiated distribution. So in VRMS screens, basically we are handling statuses at 3 levels. First one is at each form level. As you can see here, we are having yellow, red, and green lights, which indicates if the form is red, which means the form is blank and user hasn't entered any data there. If the color is orange, it indicates that some data has been filled, but the form is still incomplete. And if the color is green, this means the form is complete and user can go to further forms. This is the first level of indication. Second is at each facility level. Here you can see this is the status at each facility. So once all the forms are green for a particular facility, the facility status will change to green. Similarly, we are handling this status at each distribution level also. Yeah. So when all the facilities go green, this will turn to be a green color, and user will be able to sync data for this distribution. Next is also a small feedback where I log in as a facility head. So initially we were not having any search and sorting options in programs and facility. Now if I select a facility here, so as you can see currently there are only 2 facilities, but if there are multiple facilities, so they will be all arranged in alphabetic order. And I can also search here. If I enter the initials, it will give me the sorted option. The same search we have implemented in programs also. So if I enter ESS, it gives me essential medicine which match my search criteria. Apart from that, moving to one of the next feedback. So initially, if a user is having rights on a particular facility, so we are propagating writes from a node to all the facilities which are part of requisition group attached to that hierarchy. But now we have implemented one restriction that for a particular program, user will be having rights only on those facilities for which requisition group supports that program. So if a user is assigned a right on a particular node, and if one requisition group does not support a particular program, so those rights will not be propagated to the members of that requisition group. So that has already been implemented in the system. Moving to next, we have a consistency report. So I have to log in as admin who has view reports, right? So this is again a report which ensures the consistency in the system. So as I showcased in first story, where we are managing order import and shipment export. So once a requisition is converted to order, it is supposed to be routed to a particular ERP system. And for supporting this routing, OpenLMIS should have FTP credentials defined for that particular ERP. So looking into the FTP credentials, OpenLMIS can route a particular order to that location. But there might be some missing case where we don't have any FTP credentials defined for a warehouse, or a warehouse is disabled. In that case, user can simply pull up this report and can see the list of orphan warehouse without any FTP credentials. Yeah. So if you can look into first row, it says for warehouse F10, the FTP defined is false, which means the warehouse is enabled, but FTP is not defined. Just to throw light on this enabled flag, initially we were having a data reportable flag. Now we have renamed it to enabled. We are basically tracking two statuses here. First one is the warehouse is enabled, but the FTPs are not defined. In that case, orders cannot be routed to a particular warehouse. And second, you can see last two rows where FTP defined is true, but the enabled flag is false, which means the warehouse is disabled, although FTPs are defined, but still orders cannot be routed. So using this report, admin can look into these orphan warehouses and can ensure consistency in the system. So this is all we have from functional points and showcase. Just to repeat again, we have covered 70 points in this iteration, apart from all the highlights that I mentioned earlier. For any feedback and questions, just forward it to Ron and we'll discuss them to incorporate.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.